Hi, Greg Alderman. Welcome to One Voice Board. Today we're going to talk about executive sessions. And remember, if you want to hear more information about this, just reach out to me at greg@onevoiceboard.org. Now, I want to encourage you to pause here in just a moment, whether you're by yourself or with a group, and just jot down for yourself, what are executive sessions? And when you're ready, press play again. Now, if you're like me, the first time I heard about executive sessions, I had this idea that they were some kind of mystical special event and something magical was going to happen in the midst of it. Actually, I don't know exactly what I was thinking, but the unknown causes your mind to wonder, doesn't it? Well, executive sessions are not a mystery. They're not magical, but they are super vital to the importance and the health of any board, but especially church boards. And the reality is, most church boards don't do them. So what is an executive session? Well, executive sessions are times when the board of directors meets without their executive present for the purpose of evaluation and accountability. And the honest truth is, a huge part of a board's responsibility is accountability, and certainly most churches don't do that very well. So I recommend these be a regular part of the diet of your meeting. In fact, they should be on every regular agenda for your board. And there should always be a significant amount of time set aside for their use. So why do we need them? Well, friends, you know this as well as I do. It takes moral courage to really do well as a board and to lead a board well. And it's not easy to tell the truth to one another. So executive sessions are places where we learn and practice it, right? We learn how to do it and we practice it. Every church has a list of stated and unstated values. And I always think about the executive session as a place where the board needs to live out and practice those values. If you're following policy governance structure, then one of those values is that we speak together as one voice. Now, let me talk a little bit about that principle. If we're going to speak together as one voice, that means, by definition, only what the board has agreed on together in its deliberations is representative of its actual policies, okay? So think about that for a minute. It's only what we've agreed on. It's not the opinion of an individual member or even a couple of members. It's what the board has said together. So how do we get there? Well, of course, in the normal aspect of business, you pass policies and there's no need for an executive session. But what if it comes to accountability? And what if it comes to feedback to the pastor? How do you do that? Well, it's through the process of executive session. See, an executive session is that time when you're meeting together without the pastor present. So we learn to talk to one another and deal with one another and express concerns together. A lot of times we have to verbalize things to hear ourselves talk and allow others to hear it. You know, when I have to share something difficult sometimes, I get a little emotional about it. How about you? And sometimes my emotions can cloud my thinking. How about you? Well, when I verbalize concerns, maybe I've heard a rumor, or maybe I've had another member in the church come and express a concern to me, and I have to repeat this to the rest of the board. I can be a little nervous about that. In fact, I can even get caught up into it. Did you ever read Proverbs 18, verse 17? The first to tell a story seems right until another comes along to question them. That means we need to get every idea in the room present to have it all examined at the same time. Well, when I'm verbalizing these concerns that either I have or someone else has shared, everyone else on the board, who's usually not caught up into it, is listening in a discerning way, and they're trying to put it through the grid of our values and our life together. They're thinking biblically, they're thinking about the truth, they're thinking about whether or not something's trivial or whether or not it needs to be acted on. These are the important things that happen. And the simple fact is, for new board members, because boards constantly turn over, the executive session becomes an event where we enculturate new members into the way we do business together. You all know this. It's a whole different matter to read what we say we are than to actually experience it. Most things are better caught than taught. In other words, I have to see it in action. So how do you do executive sessions well? Once again, it's not that hard. Most boards are going to have a lead board member, a lead elder. I've had many through the years that I've worked with, amazing people that have really helped me learn so much about this, honestly. And it really comes down to the lead elder and the pastor meeting beforehand and talking not only about the whole agenda, but specifically whether or not there's things that need to be addressed during the executive session. This builds trust for the pastor and trust that the lead elder is going to conduct that portion of the meeting while he's not there in a way that is godly and appropriate to the values of the group, the board, the stated values of the board. Now, what does the lead elder do? I was having a conversation with one of the lead elders of a board that I led, and he gave me some simple feedback, something that I had never instructed. He said, when we have those discussions, a lot of times they're awkward because we're meeting without you and you usually lead the meeting. So I've learned that an icebreaker or a mini team building event is super important to those times together. Sometimes you can do it by sharing a question or a prompt and having people share. Sometimes it could be simply having the board meet in groups of 2 or 3 and praying together before you actually start the session formally. However you do it, it helps break the ice, hence the term icebreaker, but also form the group together and builds trust. When it comes to the agenda, the agenda is very simple. Number 1, what is the constructive feedback in terms of the good things that are going on that we see? What can we celebrate? What are the kudos, if you will? And have everyone on the board be given the opportunity to share those. Now, a lot of times, the things that are shared in the kudos or constructive yay God kind of things are going to cover the gamut of the life of the church. I want to encourage you to prompt the board to think about kudos in relationship to the mission principles, the things that the pastor is specifically responsible for seeing happen and how it's helping you accomplish your mission together as a church. Those are the kind of constructive feedback, encouragement things that a pastor needs to hear. The second part is the constructive criticism, the constructive feedback. What are we hearing that would help the pastor understand how he's functioning in his job? Accountability, evaluation. Executive sessions function as a way to do informal evaluation at every meeting. So then the last part is that after the session ends, the lead elder and the pastor debrief it. A lot of times in my previous church, I would meet with the lead elder immediately following the meeting, but other times we would meet during the week. What is the lead elder's responsibility? Well, one of the big things is to filter what he's heard. Remember, mentioning back to the one voice principle, the only things that are formal actions are what the board has agreed together through making a decision by consensus. So everything else is just opinion. So these things need to be filtered. Remember, as board members, you're not go-betweens. You don't share everything that you hear. You filter it. Well, same thing for an executive session. The lead elder filters what he is hearing or she is hearing and then gives that feedback to the pastor in an appropriate way. The last part of executive sessions, and it relates to the agenda, is if there becomes anything actionable. Maybe there's a concern about ethics. Maybe there's a concern about job performance, and it needs to take that formal step. The first step towards that process is often formed at an executive session. Now, I will grant you in this short video, I couldn't possibly cover all the angles of leading and conducting an executive session, but hopefully this gives you a little bit of a feeling for what they are and how they work. Once again, if you need more ideas or you want to talk to me about it, reach out to me at greg@onevoiceboard.org, and I would be more than happy to talk with you about it. And I want you to know that I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you that you would seek to be one with the Father, that you would seek to be in unity with one another with the Father, as Jesus was, and that you seek to represent the Lord, Christ, above all in your church. God bless you. See you next time.